So walk us through how, how all that started for you when you started seeing things in your home and, things started happening.
It was creepy off the get-go, to be honest. Um, it really seemed like somebody just packed up and left right away. When I was checking out the place, it was very dirty. Seemed like somebody just packed up the night before or something. Uh, ener Energy was off. Like it's already kind of a creepy apartment in some ways. Like I don't know if this is just like a traditional thing that East Indians do, but like my place is brown, right? So it's already kind of colored, not the most greeting shades you would want in your house, just
Yeah.
brown and gray. The lights don't work that great, but that was also because of the entity sucking out energy. My birds really didn't like my room, which is a lot of the stuff started happening. They would act like they were watching something and they would scream and fly out, or they would just stare at stuff. So, um, I was pretty sure there was something going on, but I just tried to ignore it because it's like, again, maybe it's just in your head or, you know, just it could be a million things. So that's kind of where it started at here.
So when you moved in there and you felt that there was a bad vibe already, it didn't, like kind of push you to be like, maybe I shouldn't be moving in here, or was it just that you didn't have a choice at the time?
I didn't really have a choice. I still don't really have a choice. I'm in a really safe neighborhood. At the time, my rent was even cheaper. And in Vancouver and stuff, you're not really allowed to have pets, it seems, anywhere. So I was allowed to keep my birds, like, and the place was like, the place is like 750 square feet, and it's just quiet. Like everything's good. Like there's a lot of positives to this place. It's just I wasn't fully aware that yes, there was like a haunting in here, and if there was, I didn't know what it was and what its plans were. So I just tried to ignore it. Had I known maybe how bad it would get, I might have not lived here. I probably wouldn't have lived here, but like I said, given these times, like, in this generation where like even just renting alone is like difficult, like most people they live with a roommate and they're still paying like 1,200 for a room, and I was paying 850 for like an entire apartment, and it's in a quiet, safe neighborhood. Um, it was just like, it was really hard to pass up on. Um, but then all this weird stuff started happening, and had I known that I was going to get attacked by stuff, I probably would have just tried to keep living with people.
After the initial things that started to happen in your home, how long did it take for it to get worse?
Mm, hmm. I know I was seeing my ex, maybe 2 years. I'm thinking maybe 2 years. It took a while before
Oh,
anything really
so
manifested.
so you got a nice break before all hell broke loose.
Yeah, it was just creepy. At that point, I think maybe it was trying to build power or something, or just get me into like a false sense of security before anything happened, just so it could really scare me.
But that would actually make sense if it was waiting for you to not be in the right mindset for it to gain that energy it needed. That's maybe why it took long. Maybe you went through something in between the 2 year gap
Yeah,
that,
I did. My previous boyfriend before the most recent ex, he actually died from an overdose. Um, so that was something I guess kind of traumatic and stressful.
so what happened once it gained strength and it started causing havoc.
Oh my God. So many things. Um, the first real thing that happened was it was just a full-blown manifestation. So there wasn't really any leading up to it. There was like it was just the creepy vibes, but like nothing in particular stood out. But when it manifested, uh, this was apparently an entity, a shapeshifter, and it manifested as an East Indian man, which fits the area I'm in. It's mostly East Indians. Uh, he was stocky built, pretty attractive, if I had to be honest. He was shirtless, only wearing like sweatpants and no socks. Um, and he crept his head around the corner of my bedroom. So my bed is right at the door, right at the door frame. It's a comfortable sized bedroom, but it's still small. And I was just waking up in the middle of the night, and I saw him poke his head in, and I was like, "Huh," just waking up and just trying to see if I was really seeing that, and he kept poking his head through, and then finally he walked through the door, and that's when I fully woke up and realized there was a man in my house. So understandably, I was terrified, and I was asking him, who was he? What did he want? Why was he here? And he just slowly walked around my bedroom, just kind of looking at me, right? Uh, until he started at some point making it towards my bed, and I'm like throwing my blankets and my pillow at him, and everything was going through him. And then I realized everything was going through him. So that's when I realized it was a ghost, and he got right up in my face, and I'm like wall crawling to my light, and the second I turned on the light, he was gone.
Oh,
But
man.
I really feared for my life, and as a woman, I had that other fear, right, of what was going to happen to me. So it was not a fun time. It was really traumatic. Like I cried, and I was really shaky, and I tried phoning people, but of course it's middle of the night, nobody's going to answer. Um, and that from that point on, that was probably the worst activity. Because even when I came in the door from, work or whatever, it just felt like something was staring at me with daggers. Like it felt like something really wanted to hurt me physically and spiritually. The spiritually thing was really scary because it felt like something was wanting to get at my soul, just wanting to hurt me in a way that I don't comprehend myself, and just feeling powerless. And from that point on, it was just like, knocking would happen, the lights would flicker for hours at night, my wires would be dragged around, and I could pull them straight and flat and stare at them to see if they were moving, and they would start they wouldn't move, but the second I turned the other way, because I like to sleep on my left shoulder, so it's like facing a wall. The second I turned away is when I hear something go, right, and it's the wires moving, and I was like, oh, right. So there was a lot of me trying to get that to stop happening, until I realized it was actually just a poltergeist. Um, and this activity would happen all through the night, like every night, all hours of the night. It would happen in the daytime too sometimes, but it was just like nightly torture. And I contacted Vancouver Paranormal Society about this, uh, and they put me on an emergency list to investigate my place. But because COVID broke out, they kept having to cancel because of the restrictions. So I was just stuck dealing with this for like another year or so, just by myself, which was pretty scary. And also just wondering if I'm crazy, right? So,
No, yeah. Well, before we get into uh, the research society, um, so while these things were happening, like, the first time you seen this entity and then, started throwing things around and opening drawers and all that, how did it feel like to you when it made itself present? Like, aside of fear, like, how was the atmosphere when these things would happen?
um, well, I can remember when it turned on a faucet, and I'm a plumber, so I would know if there was any reason for that faucet to turn on, and there wasn't. The handle was open, and this is at like probably midnight. Um, you could feel the energy all the time, and it felt like somebody was breathing down your neck, like it was just cold breaths on you. And it just felt like something was staring at you, like I said, with daggers. Um, it was just really unnerving, made me uncomfortable. Made me really scared about what was next. Would I see something? What was its next plan? How is this going to escalate? How could I get it to leave? Because, I felt pretty powerless. And then also thinking I should move, but not having the resources or the ability to move anywhere. And let's say I did, it's going to be way out of budget, and it was all just a lot.
So, how vulnerable did it make you feel? Because, if it's, causing you to question, like what's going on, and, you're feeling all sorts of things. Um, and like you said, you didn't have the finances to be like, you know what, I'm out of here. Um, like, was it mentally breaking you down, or, were you just trying to find answers?
Both. It was mentally breaking me down for sure because it wouldn't let me sleep, right? And anytime I was getting asleep, it would do something to wake me up in fear, right? And I just felt like I was in danger all the time. My biggest concern was my birds, but for whatever reason, it left my birds alone. Most of the activity was centered around in my bedroom. So, just all these things just kind of building up pressure like a pressure cooker, right? At some point
Yeah.
the lid's gonna come off.
Oh yeah,
um,
definitely.
yeah, so the only thing I can say is just it was like I was being tormented. It was like I was being bullied in my own home, and like in elementary school, I couldn't confront this bully, right? There was nothing I could do. I can't hurt it. I can't tell it to go away, right? I have really nothing I can do.
Yeah. I mean, that's really a tough position to be in. Um, I mean, when it comes to the supernatural, there's only so much you can do, and especially if there's someone that's totally unexperienced and going through it for the first time, the lack of knowledge, makes things worse as well because, the individual might not know what the heck to do. Um,
Yeah. I
so,
think another, oh, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but
no, it's okay. Go ahead.
I I think another thing that made everything more concerning for me is I'm adopted. My biological mom, we assume, might have had schizophrenia. And so, of course, there was that fear, like, is it all in my head? Is the schizophrenia like finally coming out? My doctor said no. And, Vancouver Paranormal Society, they like, I had interviews for hours for 2 weeks with different people, and they said there should be nothing wrong with me. So, um, yeah, I was like questioning whether I was mentally sound. I already had my own struggles, but throwing in schizophrenia is like a whole other thing, right?
No, yeah, definitely. I mean, we see it, in the movie especially, the first thing, they'll go and check out. They'll be like, oh, they gotta get brain scans and all this stuff to see if it's not in their head and all that. And even then, they see it's not, then they try to push it off to something else. Um, but that could just be doctors being doctors. They need to make money somehow, right?
Yeah, and medicine has come and psychology has come quite away from like the medieval times, right? We don't assume everything that happens is related to entities of some kind, right?
Right.
So now we know about like mental illness and like, diseases that can play into mental illness, and just trauma in general can affect that. So it's just trying to find the balance of, yes, this person might have depression or maybe schizophrenia or whatever. And that could be the reason why they're seeing stuff, or that could be tying into everything and just make them more susceptible, right? Because stuff like that tries to go after people that are vulnerable, and just an easy target, not in the right headspace. And if they already have those issues, it's going to know that the people around them are going to be questioning them, and making them really unsure about themselves, and just kind of isolating them more. So it's just they've got a good plan. however
Oh
however they go
yeah.
about it, they know what they're doing.
Yeah, definitely. And what are your thoughts about this, Tom?
It's it kind of hits home a little bit, you know, just like I've seen things too, and it's just you definitely question your sanity there,
Oh
especially
yeah.
not not dealing with it on a daily basis.